Hariom, and good evening, one and all. Welcome everybody to the fourth episode of the global series, talk series that we have at Vinay Vishwavidyapith. Today we are having a very interesting and very topical point of discussion, and we have got an eminent person to discuss the same. And it's actually a huge luck we have him uh, in a very uh, in a very tight schedule. So today we have Dr. Dhanuraj for to speak about public policy, a career beyond civil services. Uh, so before introducing him, and Dhanu sir requires no introduction, but still, before going into that, just to give a preface to everything, we've seen, we right now we say that we are in the mature phase of the globalization, and policy has been something, has been a point of discussion, not just for the government, but it's been a point of interest, and it is a point of concern. Looking through the recent newspapers, we'll see that it is a point of concern even for a private individual, a private, let alone for corporate entities, which has always been their issue. So at this point of time, even I would dare to say that public policy has become such an important, as an important subject that it is that we cannot simply leave it for the government and the generalist bureaucrats to handle. It requires a pool of intelligence coming in. It requires an aware citizenry for a very healthy future to be built on based on strong public policy and governance design. So now, talking about this, I cannot find a better person to to give us or to tell us how this matters today and how it is important for everybody to think. I mean, for the coming up generation, how to think about a career and why it is a much big opportunity for everybody, and to every one of us to be aware of things happening around us. So to discuss with us on that, we have Dr. Dhanuraj sir. Dhanuraj sir is a man who wears many caps. He's a mentor to many of us, including me and our department at CVV. He is the founding director of Center for Public Policy Research. He and his center together uh, throttles or spearheads independent public policy research, which is dedicated and in-depth scientific analysis with the objective of delivering actionable ideas that could transform the society. His works his and his organization's work, especially with regard, has always been what we call today as local, of local issues which has a global importance. And so he has been a person who has been spearheading in that area. So it is a big honor to welcome him on behalf of Chinmay Vishwavidyapith and every one of us to this talk show. Thank you, Dennis sir. Thank you so much for joining in. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Srinath, for your kind words. And also, it's an honor for me to be there here on this platform, on CVV platform, to share my thoughts and to share my ideas on public policy and public policy career. I'm grateful to CVV, as Srinath mentioned, that has been one of the attempts, a joint attempt by CVV and CPPR to launch a public policy program at the postgraduate level. And I hope as we progress, we are also learning from that engagement also how do we improve public policy programs. And I'm sure CVV program becomes one of the leading public policy programs in this part of the world in the coming years. So I'm so happy to be a part of that initiative. And I'm so happy that both the institutions are exchanging their ideas and thoughts on how to curate a better public policy program every year as we proceed. So, public policy is something that before I start, I should take this. There's a caveat. I'm not a trained public policy specialist. My background is totally different. I came into public policy. I'll share some of the reasons or what provoked me, initiated me to get into public policy realm 17, 18 years ago. And so what I'm going to talk to you is about my experience. I share the experience of Center for Public Policy Research, and also the journey that we had the last 17 years. So we've seen many public policy researchers or emerging public policy scholars in the country and across the world. Uh, I'm also happy to see many of our interns in the past. They are uh, positioned in a big way in the public policy domain. So I seen their growth. I seen their passion, their commitment, and how are they contributing to the immense benefits of the humanity at different levels in different ways. So probably that is exactly this conversation is all about. How what is public policy career and how public policy career could be molded, and what could be the opportunities, challenges in public policy career in next few years. What all things we experience so far, and what are those challenges probably we could foresee now in the coming years. Uh, I'm by training, I'm a physicist, and I don't speak. I speak only for 20 minutes. Just give a glimpse of what is public policy career. But more than that, I would love to take questions and interact with the audience here, because I think that is where that is what matters today. It can't be a monologue, because career is something, especially the public policy career in this country, is something that is getting matured, as Srinath said. Not still, people are figuring out what is this public policy career all about. So I'm a trained physicist. My first post graduation in physics, and I believe I was a good student of physics when I was in college. And immediately afterwards, I got into a software company, worked there for like 8 9 months. And luckily for me, I realized early in my career that that is not something, software job is not something that I enjoy, or that is not my career goal, or probably the life mission. So I resigned, and then I joined Madras Christian College to do MA in political science, full-time program in political science. So I spent another 2 years to understand, what is political science, because I had this passion, I had the interest to understand how government works, how political system works, how the economy operates, how people respond and react to emerging situations, and what are the systems and processes in this, in the whole gamut of governance. I never learned public policy as such, as probably some of you are doing now as a program. And then, luckily for me, I had a bunch of uh, good friends of mine. We came together and started Center for Public Policy in 2004. The reason I mentioned how we started public policy career, how I started public policy career, because I think it doesn't mean that only those who could complete public policy program could venture out into public policy research, or they could only talk about public policies and issues related. If you're passionate, if you really want to understand how systems and processes are working, I mean, you are so curious, I'm sure there are ways to do public policy research. So obviously the question would be, what do you mean by public policy? So those who are not uh, learning public policy in a very organized, systematic manner, I would say public policy is what government says and government executes, what government articulates, from time to time on various issues, and then public policy is converted into rules and regulations and acts and so on and so forth. So I'm not getting the theoretical aspect. That is because that is not the focus of today's conversation. So if you are interested in governance, so the question here is, why are you interested in governance, right? So for many, as the title of today's discussion goes, career beyond civil service. I'm sure most of you are preparing, or many of you are preparing for civil service. You want to be a civil servant in this country. Great. I mean, I think all of us should try that out, and we should. I mean, I still believe Indian civil service, whatever the critics say, as a public policy researcher, I have certain views on Indian civil service. But generally, I would say Indian civil service is one of the best ways you can contribute, or you can support people around you. That's a great platform for you. We can say journalists are there. We can, so that's all public policy debates. That should not confront you. I mean, that should not push back you from writing civil service exams. So you should do that. Now, those who are not making it, those 800, 900, civil servants that UPSC selects every year, what are the? Does it mean that it's the end of their aim and dreams? No, I say no. And that also doesn't mean that only if you do public policy, you can serve, you can contribute to the society. My view is that any work that we do, whether we are into public policy, I mean, with a title like you are a public policy researcher, or if you are into IT, IT meaning information technology, software, I think one way or another, you're actually contributing to the society. So I'm not so specific that only those people who could do public policy or those who could write civil service and pass the exam, they could only do, the nation, serving the nation. That is what many, desire to do, right? That's the aspiration that most of us have. So my sense is, as I said earlier, if you are interested in governance, if you are interested in political system, if you are interested in economy, if you are interested in social life, I mean, social life meaning this life around you, so societal life, how different institutions, how different processes, how different individuals are reacting, responding, and reflecting on various issues around them. I think if you could partake in that activity, if you are participate in that activity, I think even if you are not given the title of public policy research, so quoted, inverted commas, public policy researcher, I mean, you are a public policy, otherwise also. You don't have to learn public. So learning public policy is, like you can code only if you know coding, right? I mean, you have certain, ways of doing coding. But that doesn't mean that only those who could do coding can do coding, right? But there's a norm, there's a system we want to learn. I'm sure in your school classes, you would have learned Indian Parliament, for example, or you would have learned the three, the legislature, executive, and judiciary, how these three organs of state interact and supplement each other. You would have studied about economy, for example. You would have studied about, I'm sure every other day you are reading and debating on India's GDP growth. At least some of you are, interested, curious to know. Some of you are interested to know, for example, if you are in Kerala, for example, last few months, people are talking a lot about dowry death, dowry. So this is also a public policy issue. Or if you are into, if you are a tech geek, I'm sure you are concerned about the health of our mobile companies, or yesterday Supreme Court again reserved their judgment there for yesterday. They reserved the judgment on the dues that should be paid by the mobile companies. So that's another concern for, as a citizen, I could be concerned. As a public policy researcher also, I could be concerned about it, right? So the area that you are developing, or the area that you are interested in, varies from individual to individual. So I don't want to tell you these are the 5 areas. I think anything under the sun or outer space is today, is a matter of concern, is a matter of interest for all the public policy researchers or those researchers who are interested in those particular areas. I say like yesterday, Jeff Bezos, spending 11 or 12 minutes, I don't know how many minutes, going to outer space. Again, there is a contention whether it's outer space or not. I mean, it's all debatable, right? So the question is that what is the public policy element in that, right? So it could be outer space. I'm sure a few years down the line, we will have specialists who are interested in understanding the public policy that should be formed when your Mars mission is successful. How do you regulate? How do you organize? I mean, regulation comes last. Don't get me wrong. How do you organize these events to take place? And who is benefiting, who is not benefiting, whether the public money is spent, whether the market is trying to exploit the market elements are trying to exploit the mass. So these are all questions that every day everybody asks, right? If you are interested in, I'm sure some of you are from north of India. Today, north of India is witnessing a good monsoon. So some of you are, very much bothered about floods in Mumbai, for example, or some of you are interested in incessant rain and how our urban systems are choked, because of incessant rain, and because we not foresee or our system failed to understand or foresee those developments. If you are driving, if you are into, if you have a private vehicle, whether a scooter or a three-wheeler or a four-wheeler, whatever it is, you might be bothered about the diesel petrol hike, right? Price hike every day. If you talk to your mother, probably she will talk about inflation in a direct way. Now, she may not use the term inflation, but she might be saying like, some of the vegetables cost, gone up by, 200%, 150% in the last 3-4 months. So if you are a public person, that is where the issue, that is where the challenge comes. Your mother will talk about all these things, but she may not be realizing that she's actually discussing a public policy issue. So that is where the training in public policy sometimes helps. Without training, also I'm doing public policy. I think it comes with years of experience, and I'm sure I still believe I'm a beginner in public policy, and I'm learning every day. I learn from my peers, I learn from my mentors, I learn from bureaucrats, I learn from politicians also, right? And politicians, by the way, I know some of the public policy graduates, from Ivy League universities. They are in Indian politics now for the last so many years, and they're also trying to build a career. So their aspect and their outlook would be slightly different from the way we look at it, because there's also it's an element of electoral politics comes there, right? So essentially, what I'm trying to say is, public policy could be done by anybody who has the passion, who has the creativity, who has the interest, and who also have the urge to know things, right? So whatever be the topic, it could be Jeff Bezos outer space expedition yesterday, or something that is going to happen. See, one of my friends is actually started working on 5G, for example. We started testing, India started testing, US has already tested, many countries started testing. So we actually looking at how 5G is going to look like, and then what are the rules and regulations and policy framework that we should come up with. So we already started, right? So subject doesn't matter here. It's your passion, interest, and ready to do that hard work. And other aspect of before I come to career, I think I'll touch on the career probably in 3-4 minutes. What are those essential qualities that a public policy researcher or the so-called public policy researcher should possess? I think one, you should be ready to do that hard work. What is that hard work? I think you should keep reading, you should keep understanding, you should keep observing things. So many things are unraveling around you. If your interest is in one particular area, so I'm sure some of you are interested in international relations. I know that my experience last 17 years, especially last few years in Indian public policy domain, is that so many are interested in international relations these days. I mean, unprecedented. If you CPPR calls for internships, so maximum number of intern applications comes from IER, but that doesn't mean that they are academically qualified to do IR, meaning most of them, majority of them don't have IR qualification. They have not done any postgraduate programs, or they have not done any MPhil or PhD programs, typical to Indian settings. So still they are interested, and I see many of them are doing better work than those qualified guys. Right? It's a passion. They're reading a lot. they're observing a lot, they interact with peers, and they are coming up with different insights, new insights to the field, right? So the biggest, I think the factor for your success, the essential factor for your success would be your interest, your passion to read, your passion to do that homework. It is not, if you're a public policy researcher, whether you are with the government or with as a consultant to the government or with any other organization, I believe this is, there is nothing like there's an overnight success story in public policy. Anybody who has made a mark in public policy field, I'm sure they have done years of reading, writing, reflections, and then people start recognizing them. And most of the times, this is also one of my recent experience of last few years experience that many of us think that, all of us think that when you read an article on your newspaper, for example, op-ed pieces, you may think that, okay, oh, this is something that I was also thinking the other day. I could have written this, who this. But when you sit and start writing, then you realize that it's not an easy task, right? Uh, uh, I do television shows, so in a 1 hour show, typical Indian television shows, debates, you might get around 6 to 7, 8 minutes. You have 3 participants in a 1 hour show, but for the 7, 8 minutes, I do a lot of homework. Most people think that, oh, this guy comes and then gives some random ideas. It's not like that, because if you are, I'm not talking about those political debates conducted by politicians. I'm talking about there are television channels or television channel programs which they cater to, or they cater to probably informed audience, and also participated by trained people. So those, I'm talking about those programs. So it takes time for you to do that, get into that groove and get that feel. So sometimes we are patient, we don't have the patience. I've seen in many public policy researchers, they don't have the patience for many reasons. Sometimes people expect overnight fame. I think we should not go, I think that's not the way. Probably that's a motivating factor for all of us. Like, you become famous in your field of activity where you're engaging. But there's nothing like, in an instantaneous fame, instantaneous fame. I think that will have its own problems. Because the moment you become famous, you become an authority on a subject, you start getting calls from different people. It could be from media, it could be from government, it could be from political leaders, it could be from economists, right? What is your take on that? And there your wisdom will be challenged, tested by these people, right? So it's a slow and steady process, slow and steady process. Be patient, but you should have the passion then, right? Because if you don't have the passion, the problem is that after a few years, you may feel like, oh, what is this? Why should I do this? Because sometimes it is also like a thankless job, right? Imagine this, I'm sure, look around you, look around the country. You see that many of the public policy decisions, finally the policy decisions are, going to the government, and there's a legislative process, and they pass the legislation, and hardly we know, who are the who are the people, what was the team, who are there in that team, wrote that policy brief, or came up with this policy draft, right? We hardly come to know about it. That is one of the challenge in public policy, because at times you are not acknowledged, right? You are not acknowledged, or you are not uh, uh, even thanked by the government or the state or by the people, because ultimately it will come to know us, the policy will come to know when this person was the chief minister or prime minister, or this person was the minister in that particular department of that ministry, heading that ministry. This policy came. You don't know who had actually worked there, or who actually worked for those policies. Sometimes it takes many years to convince the political leadership to pass or support this particular policy. So that's a demotivating factor at times, right? But now in 21st century, we have so many other platforms where you could reflect or you use. You can write, you can people do interesting things these days. They write, they do podcasts, they do YouTube videos, they do Facebook, WhatsApp, and all those things. So you could be there, but at times you are not tanked by those. It really matters, right, in this business. So that is another thing. The other one is writing skills, observation and writing skills. I think you should be a shrewd observer. I know that when I use the term shrewd, you should be a, you should observe. You should know how to observe. You should know, you should observe things with, probably you are asking these questions every time to everybody. Why this happening? How this happening? So I usually tell my colleagues, you should always ask these WH questions. You don't have to be a public policy researcher to ask those questions, right? As a citizen of the country, you can ask this question: why is it happening? How is it happening? Where is it happening? When is it going to happen? And where is it going to happen? Okay, or what is this, right? Finally, so those 5 questions could help you to keep asking, keep asking. Don't stop asking this question until you are getting right answer or until you are satisfied with that answer, right? So that makes a huge difference. So framing the questions is the biggest element, the quality of a good public policy researcher. Ask the right questions, no matter whether you get the right answer, no matter whether you get answers, forget about it. Ask questions, keep asking questions, right? You ask questions when somebody is teaching you public policy or any subject matter for that matter. Keep asking this question: why this, right? So once you have these elements, and I'm just, this could go on for hours, but I'm just trying to reflect some of the interesting elements in public policy these days. You're an observer, you're a good writer. Writing is also very important because, you can have so many ideas, but today, you have to write and publish it. And then only it becomes your idea, right? Otherwise, everybody has got so many ideas. And so you have to keep improving your language proficiency, writing skills, all those things, right? But I'm sure if you are passionate on the subject, I'm sure this will eventually happen. I mean, this will happen naturally. I mean, there's a natural progression there. Once you have this quality, then what about those careers, right? Careers are many. No, we started with the civil service. I mean, to write civil service exam, you don't have to have public policy research. Don't get me wrong. That's a different, altogether different take. But other than that, public policy researchers are required by recording almost every sector today. I mentioned few. I can mention another 1,000 sectors and ideas where public policy research matters. So public policy researcher career was not so programmed one in this country for a long time, because public policy itself is a new topic or subject, right? Probably it has got around 70, 80 years of, that's the age of this, this particular stream. But I think COVID is a blessing in disguise, I would say. You don't know. I mean, I'm surprised when I hear, your old parents or our parents, talk about TPR, for example, test positivity rate. They talk about, they talk like, epidemiologist. They talk like a microbiologist, because information is out there. That is one of the challenges that all the public policy researchers are going to face in the coming years, because information is out there. When I started my career, 17, 18 years back, I see that, when I look back now, whatever I say, it was like new to people, right? Today, I'm very careful when I talk to people, because public know many things. Public, they know many things. Don't underestimate them. They know many things. There are different sources. Information is not nobody can stop information, right? You can collect, gather information. There are so much of analysis going on, right? So many debates are happening. Or even your WhatsApp group, whether informed or not informed, I think a lot of debates happens. People have got opinions, right? So there is another one more challenge comes now. We have the data. Data was not so big deal. I mean, it didn't have that big deal in public policy research for a long time. Now data becomes a very big thing because data is part of public policy researcher's life, and you should know how to look at data, how to read data, how to assess, analyze data, and so you should have some skill sets there in seeing the data and all. And then technology is another challenge. Right? Technology comes because technology was not playing that big role in the past, but today public policy research is challenged by, or public policy researchers' wisdom is challenged by technology with the introduction of new technology every other day, right? So the governments, states are finding it difficult to, understand the influence and intricacies, resulted of as a result of this technology invasion or intervention, whatever you say. So that is another thing that you should be very careful. Now, civil servants and any topic you get into, I think there are opportunities. So opportunities are with many institutions. For example, in India, the earlier planning commission, today Niti Aayog, they also hire consultants. I think politicians, my back on the level of calculation is like more than 100 politicians, 100 MPs in this country, they have their own research team, right? One fourth of the MPs in the country got research team. They're also, the researchers are actually coming from prestigious universities across the world. Likewise, there are many MLAs, there are political parties they invest in research now, in policy and all. There are many fellowship programs that will take you through this process. Uh, then think tank like ours, like CPPR or CPR or IRF. I'm talking about Indian think tanks, global think tanks like uh, CSIS or Brookings or Simpson Center. I mean, there are many. Uh, or in academics. More than the teaching, I see many of the universities are starting the think tanks and public policy research department, because COVID become a has been a big revelation, because people realize that it's not only the government. In fact, we need more and more research, public policy research, not more than the academic research. We need public policy research to address those challenges as they emerge, right? So there are opportunities there. There are opportunities with the consulting companies. All the Fab Four companies, or the small and big companies, are also hiring. I mean, it was not there. If you ask me 5 years back, I would not have said that there are one or two in the country with some of these companies. But today, I see many consulting companies also started recruiting, public policy career professionals. Then media. Media is actually looking for public policy career professionals. Many newspaper, visual media, or even Facebook. I'm sure if you're following Facebook, Twitter stories in India, every time when they are into some, what do you call, they're summoned by the government, the person who is mostly responsible or who's responding to government would be a public policy expert, right? Facebook has got a public policy person, the team. Twitter has it. So all these social media and non-social media platforms also, many of them have it. Look at Uber or Ola. They have public policy experts. Those who are specialized in transport, mobility, they are hiring public policy experts. So opportunities are umpteen. I don't want to say these are the 10 opportunities you have. I think, and you could be also a social entrepreneur. I started my career by setting up our own institution. So many are doing it. I see many new think tanks that are emerging in India. I see many states have many new think tanks or new institutions, even consulting companies, LLPs. They're also starting now. So opportunities are there, career opportunities are there, but the fact of the matter is, you should be passionate. You should be ready to do that hard work, and you should be ready to dedicate for this thing, because otherwise I don't think you have a sustained career growth in public policy. So with that, I stop here. I think I exceeded 20 minutes. I think it's almost like 30, 40 minutes now. So I'm happy to have questions and we can have more interactions.
Thank you so much that you have never exceeded any time. You are as always as precise as you are. So we do have a couple of questions already in the chat box, but just a few housekeeping rules. If there is anybody who would like to ask question directly to Dhanraj sir, please raise your hands, and as and when we'll take one by one. In meantime, I'll just start off with the questions that we have in our chat box. I think there is you have answered one question directly, but I would like to ask one thing that everybody who has been working in, because one of the major people or the major segment in public policy has been always been the civil service or the UPSC career people, and now with the growth of the public policy, there is a new avenue for them to build a career, and in a sense to say that whatever preparation that they do is not lost once if they do not make it. So, and such people have always been people who have been starting off from the early. So for a person who is starting off or thinking of a public policy career, say from the school time or maybe in the early graduation, where and what do you think would be the best place or best areas to empower themselves for a career forward?
In civil service or for civil service?
In public policy,
Yeah.
yes.
So I see. That's what I started by saying that now I'm by training I'm a physicist, and I still believe that I was a good student of physics. Okay, I still read and understand what are the new developments in physics, but I also had this interest in politics, elections, economy, and probably the college settings are also supporting us to explore more. So if you are interested, no matter what you are studying, because we also get interns here, no matter what you are interested, no matter what you are studying, if you are interested to explore more, I think there are umpteen number of opportunities to do internship today, right? I mean, there are many organizations offering internship. Political parties are offering internship. Chief Minister, fellow program, this program. I mean, I don't know. When I was in college, there was no program, but today I see like so many. I mean, it's only a matter of time. If you're interested, explore those market and then get the right placement. So spend 1 or 2 months during a summer break or whatever semester break, understand, and because that is where your first test comes. When you apply for internship, of course, because if you are not coming from that particular background, the organization will be asking so many questions, too many questions, I would say. So that's your, that's a test for you about whether you are so passionate about the subject. Because we have taken so many, not from that academic background, because I see that, interest, passion, energy, they want to do this, so you spend that your 3-year graduate program, you can do at least three internships. Or you can also, since now we are, many institutions are offering online programs, you can also do online, part of the studies and all. So that will be your first, the exposure to this field. Second is, I think you should read as much as you read. I mean, I'm not prescribing any books. That's not the thing. I'm talking about the current topics, general knowledge, I would say. You build your general knowledge. I also see, I don't know how many participants here. If I ask this question, who is your prime minister? I'm sure 100%. Everybody will say, who is your prime minister? Then I ask, who is your member of parliament, your particular constituency belong to? Then that will come to some 70%, right? Then I ask, who is your MLA? That will come to 50%, right? Then I ask very, very difficult question. If you are from Armenia, who is your mayor? Okay, so I'm not only talking about what is happening in Afghanistan. That is the area that you are interested. Keep reading, watch television, read articles written by experts. If you're interested in local governance issues, you understand this, right? There are so many areas. Even now, I think public policy researchers have not explored, or I say there's a minimum number of public policy researchers are working. There are so many. I know many areas. Still, we may find 1 or 2 in the country. But these are all like mines. can explore and get going. I was actually looking at gold, for example. We are struggling with the gold. Gold is a very interesting thing, at least for Malayalis and South Indians, right? But how many public policy guys are in the gold? Because we have three types of gold schemes by government of India, and now something happens, gold price shoots up. So where to invest? I mean, mostly this advice, if you look at it, mostly this advice is given by the if you watch CNBC 18, there'll be somebody coming in the morning like you should invest in gold bond or not. But they are not talking about the public policy part. That's what I'm trying to say. So if you are interested, explore. You read consistently. You read, in your area, the articles, op-ed pieces. Not only the local media, national, international media. I think everything is available online now. Sometimes certain, platforms are a little costly, but again, I still believe that we can, you will find sufficient resources for you to update your knowledge and expertise. So I think that is where you should start. Internship plus reading.
Right, sir. So now let me come to the very, the usual question that we always have, the generalist versus specialist. So for a person who is developing an independent career as a public policy professional, how do you think the person should be built? I mean, in the sense that should the person be a generalist or should be somebody, a specialist, a person who is already working in AI, in tech field, a BTech, a person who is already working in machine language and then working in AI, then the person comes into public policy. So which do you think is more suited as per the market looks for a public policy expert, a generalist or somebody else?
No, I say what my suggestion would be: you start as a journalist. You start as a journalist. The reason is today it's very interdisciplinary oriented. The public policy is actually interdisciplinary oriented. The reason why many of our public policy programs failed, many of the universities, because you bring public political science graduate, somebody qualified to teach political science, somebody qualified to teach economics, but they are not able to see that overlapping nature of where do you find that convergence, not overlapping, the convergence point, right? Because how politics, see, when I taught CVV class, I asked this question, basic question. I think every public policy researcher asks this question: whether a good economist is a good politician, or a good politician is a good economist, right? And who will win the elections? Dr. Manmohan Singh failed, right? He lost elections. This is even after he launched liberalization, and also he was contesting from one of the middle class constituencies, South Delhi constituency. Even then he lost, yes. Right? So if you are building your career in public policy, I suggest you start as a journalist, because you should have that basic understanding about economics, political science, sociology, right? History. You should have basic understanding, because everything has. I'll tell you. I can give an example here. Now we are all talking about sedition law. This is something that I dealt some 10 years back. I'm not a lawyer, by the way. I'm not a qualified public policy. But somebody asked me to write a piece. Some 10 years ago, because this comes on and off, right? Somebody asked me. So I tried to understand what was that context in which sedition law was, brought by British government. That's very important. Most of the public policy researchers and career professionals in India, they don't read history. Okay. I give an example from our own research. We have this Uber case, right? Uber. There was a time like everybody is talking about Uber. There was policy challenges. So one of my colleagues and I did a work on. How was that taxi system was introduced? The taxi, and then it is upgraded to Uber, right? So I was trying to understand taxi. Then we were exploring what was the time in Indian subcontinent the taxi system was introduced, and I realized that it was 1927 or 1928. Raja of Patiala introduced it, and then we were looking at what are the rules and regulation when taxi service was launched in India, right? What are the rules of it? You know what? We digged and we actually, gone through many of these, even the archives of UK Parliament. We found that it is a 1678 law. It's called Hackney Carriage Act. Right. So the Hackney Carriage Act actually, see why this, the characteristics of a taxi system in India. how we regulate taxi system. There was a reason why those regulations were there in 18th century. That's what I'm coming to. So unless you understand that, so there is a way you read history, right? The way you interpret history, right? The way you interpret law, right? So everywhere there are interpretations, right? So I suggest you should have a basic course on everything. Understand how to read a law, how to read a statute. I think majority of the public policy researchers don't know how to read a statute. I'm not saying I'm an expert, but still I'm learning, interacting with the lawyers and people like how to read a statute, because that is the life of a public policy researcher actually, right? Because you are going to rewrite a law, so you are going to reinterpret the statute. So you start as a journalist, and after some time you may pick up some interest. Now I started I used to do many things, okay, and but after a period I realized that my interest lies here. Probably I deal some 6 or 7 topics now, but I have opinion on many things. That's a different story. But I keep debating. So start as a journalist, and then you specialize. And very important thing, whether you what the subject area you want to specialize in, you should be thorough in some of the basic economic theories. Because the reason I say is, we say in public policy, efficiency, equity, effectiveness, this will be complemented by economic growth. Right? At the end of the day, public policy should lead to economic growth also. I'm not saying it's not a necessary evil, but most of the time, this is also one of the benefits. So you need to understand what is that economic growth we are looking for.
So that brings to another question that we have. That so you have interacted from both the sides. The civil servants, the career government, public policy persons, and also the people who are in industry as public policy professionals. So do you see there is a distinction in their skill set when it comes to civil service people and the private individual public policy professional? Is there any difference in their skill set, and if so, how to develop?
Definitely, that's a professional hazard that most of the civil servants have. They don't have the time. I know many civil servants, they are very academic. They want to go in depth, but they don't have the time. No, because that's how the system in India, right? You get something, you don't know, you are doing something, then immediately get an order, you are transferred to some other department. So then you are again starting from the scratch, right? So you can't be an expert in the system. So I don't blame them. That's a inherent challenge that the system has. But professional, that is actually an opportunity for professional public policy professionals, because the reason is that they are also looking for advice, insights, inputs, and all. So that is where I work with many civil servants, state, national level, and all. And I still when you have those civil servants who understand the value of research and academic inputs, it's great. It's great. It's like you are like you're so excited. Sometimes you get overwhelmed because you sit with somebody who also understands that wavelength is there, and I think we could because that gives you some confidence, right? Some comfort space, and probably your work is also better. The kind of delivery that you promise when you have other persons. So it's a win-win situation. But I think it's 70% of the cases that need not be the case, because I don't blame the civil service, but system doesn't want it.
So there is this. So public policy and the strategy that we have for each country differs from time to time. So the question here comes is, when you train as a public policy person from a particular country, say in India, how much of an opportunity does that person have when the person wants to go abroad and still work as a public policy person? Because the principles and the ideals with which the Indian public policy designed and which he or she is being trained is different from that in the international sphere in other countries. So how do you see an opportunity for a trained public policy professional from India to outside?
No, there are a lot of people working with the World Bank from India. Right? They are, to an extent, they are public policy professionals. So I don't find any difficulty if you're, see, this is what I said. No, see, you should be ready to do that hard work, homework and hard work. Because every system, see, you don't have to go abroad, to face these challenges. I see every month, I may end up doing 2, 3 new projects or get involved in new projects. Every project for me is a new project, a new concept, new idea. Whatever, probably you would have worked in the education sector, for example, you would have worked in the education sector for like last 6 years. That doesn't mean that when a new challenge comes, sometimes, you have to start again to understand this process and how. So basic understanding, the framework understanding, I mean, how public policy framework comes, I mean, pans out, and then how this could be dealt in detail. I think that understanding is very critical for a successful career. So I don't see those who do, see, for example, Kennedy School, one of the, premier institutions in the world. There are so many, even our own good friends, they are from Kennedy schools. So likewise, we also go abroad and do the work there. So your basics are, your fundamentals should be strong. Most of the times, one issue that we see with many of the public policy career aspirants is like their fundamentals are not so strong. If your fundamentals are not so strong, the problem would be somewhere you will, goof up. You will goof up. You don't realize it, okay? Because fundamental questions. That is what I said. The WH questions. You keep asking these WH questions, get into the basics and fundamentals, then you start learning every time. So I don't find any problem whether you are trained in India or in US, right? If your fundamentals are strong, you can be a successful.
So it's basically like gaining an art. It is, in that sense, public policy is an art. So you learn it from India, you learn it from Australia.
Yeah, it's an art, and you are very, see, there is one more thing I should mention here. Most of the public policy research, the successful public policy researchers, they are ahead of the curve. Okay. So you need to see what after 5 years, what is going to happen, right?
Yeah.
See, past is something that I think all of us, especially those who are in the academic world, we keep digging things and say like, come on, yaar, this should not have happened. All counterintuitive questions could have been asked. But in public policy, there is no luxury for that. Digging the past is only to substantiate or say like, there is a different public policy challenges emerging. This means the postmortem will not help in public policy. So you have to be very futuristic. You should be very creative, innovative, and you should be always like ahead of the curve. You should be able to say that this is going to happen. If you introduce this policy, because usually the policies, that is also very important understanding for all the audience. The policies in India, there is no sunset clause. Most of the policies don't have the sunset clause. So if you frame a policy, God only knows, how many decades and how many centuries it will be there. Right. See, for example, your first COVID time, this is a very interesting study if somebody is interested. Most of the state governments introduced new rules and regulations, like, COVID time, lockdown, this should not be done. But nobody knows whether these regulations are withdrawn now.
Right.
So when probably 10 years down the line, when you are in a traffic island and you make some mistakes, police will challan you and say like, you know what, 2020, when we had a COVID, there was a provision because people can catch you like anything. I mean, they can use any provision to catch you. Likewise, I say, you should be very, very, and you are doing a very responsible job. By the way, I think I always I tell my colleagues also, we are doing a very responsible job. Now, you get money, you get fame, but at the end of the day, your policy may, have an impact on millions. We don't know. Not only the millions, probably billions, because policy will be there for next 50 years. I don't know how many generations will suffer from our poor policy making. Right. So that is where you should be very, very, to the basics, to the fundamentals, like a cricket player, you should be basic. You should, back to your basics. It's your freedom how to play. That's your, but you should be very strong in your basics.
So now that you have mentioned pandemic, I think that this brings an opportunistic time to ask. So there has been a lot of issues saying that, pandemic has hit the career opportunities in this industry, that industry and everything. How do you see about the career opportunities being affected post-pandemic in public policy?
more opportunities. Now, these public policy researchers, the most sought after tribe. you know, because governments also realize that there are so many things. See, that's what I see when I step out of my office, or when I drive to CVV campus, I see 100 public policy issues. The waste is dumped on the. So you're talking about Zika virus, right? No. So what is it? It's a public policy challenge, right? It could be a mosquito problem. Then the question is why that mosquito problems are there. But today, governments are more informed, or they are actually started debating. At least for next few years. I don't know. Probably government will go back to the typical cycles after 5 years. But now there is a challenge on their face.
Right.
Because public is very informed, and public is questioning the government. Public is questioning the politicians also, leadership, bureaucrats also. What are you doing? Come on. So then there is a huge demand for public policy. Your waste management. You see, even in a city, you don't have to do it at national level. Even in the city, I can tell you some 100 issues are there. If you pick up one issue, two issues, I don't think in your lifetime you'll be going to solve those one issue, two issue. See, I give one very specific example for your understanding. We fix these traffic lights, right? Yellow, green. If you are into that sector, just fixing that traffic light and mobility. Actually, it's a mobility issue.
Right.
I think your whole career will be on that. Because today you have 100 buses or 100 cars. Tomorrow you have 500 cars. Then you have to change it. Then somebody has bought these electric vehicles that you have to fix it. Right. So this is a continuous process. So the problem is many times we also have this very wrong idea that public policy is only about engaging government of India or government of Maharashtra, state government. Public policy is also about our neighborhood. Public policy is also about the city government or panchayat, right? So you have 6 lakh villages, around 3.5 lakh villages. We have high dense population. I don't know how many public policy researchers we require in this country.
Right. So that leads to my next question would be that another thing that has affected the whole career opportunities in different industries is the emergence of technology. So, for example, business analytics is set to die out maybe within next decade or another one, because the AI can take over and give you all the sort of possible scenarios that could happen. So, how do you think is the future of public policy when such an intervention of technology comes in? Or, in other words, to put it, is it actually future-proof?
I see. Even if you introduce, it's something like when computers were introduced. Because nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to learn arithmetic anymore. I mean, Excel sheet is there, so Excel will take care of. Come on, this is not going to happen like that. So my colleagues who are working in CPP on artificial intelligence, they talk about two things. One is the quality of the work would be different. The way you do work or the outlook would be different with the introduction of all these tech AI interventions. The other one is, I think it will also create more job opportunities, right? See, I give an example. Drones. We've been debating drones for like last 10 years, thanks to unfortunately, the drone attack in Srinagar, camp. It actually raised so many issues. Right? Now, if you are following drone story, 1 week, 3-4 days ago, Government of India again, introduced a new refined drone policy. This could be challenged again. So, all these introductions or interventions of technology could also be a great opportunity for the public policy researchers. Because there are so many things. Data, privacy. Somebody asked me this question yesterday in my group. What is the difference when Amazon sells goods and then when Facebook sells things? I say two different processes there, right? So every process, I think there is a public policy element, and every element requires probably 100,000 public policy researchers to tackle that issue.
So I think probably we have, that with that question, probably have come to an end of the time. And
No, I can spend
so,
5-10 minutes more if anybody has got
oh,
anything.
wonderful! That would be great. So thank you so much. We've got a huge number of questions here. So there comes another question. So that's so kind of you, sir. So one question that one of our audience asked is, how do you find that people choose, because there is a growing number of independent public policy experts coming in who right now chooses away from UPSC. So what do you think is the reasons, or how what is the difference according to you that between a civil services and working in the intersections as a consultant when within their career growth as such? Because the public policy with the civil service, we do know that it reaches somewhere around secretary, or maybe sometime cabinet secretary, and that's the highest. But over here, how do you see over the career of a public policy professional?
It's uh, I mean, honestly speaking, I'm not the right person to answer it, because this is the challenge there is, public policy is a new career, right? So
Hmm.
we are also in the, probably I all belong to that first or second generation of public policy researchers in the country. Unless, I mean, those who are there with public policy domain were those who were attached to government institutions, government-backed supported institutions. So that's a different career path for all of them. Now, the independent researchers like us, I see uh, there are opportunities. It depends. How smart you are. And smartness depends, not only includes your intelligent thing, but how you connected, how because that
The
is there.
networking, street smart.
Networking, and also a lot of lot more investment should be there in your networking skills, right?
Hmm.
Because you have to connect, you have to, I'm sure there are a lot of people, but we don't know them, right? Because they are not networking, right? Second
True.
is, government of India is also started lateral entry. Now,
Hmm.
recently also they had called for 9 positions. You could, many professionals are applying for the job. And now the difference between civil servants and the public policy researchers, I would say, from the day one, civil servants, those who entered Indian civil service, they have the power.
Hmm.
Right? That is not there with the public policy. We can only debate, shout, and write things. Right? We can't get into the government circles. So they have the power. Second thing is, probably they are more secure. If you are bothered about the job security, they have a security, job security. They have got the whatever,
True.
salary, allowance, pension, and everything, all the
Right.
privileges, right? That probably you're not having. And but I know many of the public policy researchers also later joining, or government also request them to join or help them in different committees, different things. So it is a very individual orientation. So I have a different
Hmm.
orientation, probably different from many others, right? Because I believe in the cause that I'm into, right? I'm
True.
not getting so much bothered about whether I'm going to have pension or not. I mean,
Right.
right? Because I see that the discussion about pension is pointless. You know why? Because we as public policy researchers are advocating many pension reforms. Now
Right.
you can't go
True.
out and crib like, come on here. I mean, I'm not getting pension. You only tell like, you should not have this pension, or you should have invested in private pension scheme, right? So that's your
Right.
orientation, right? So,
Hmm.
but power is something that is a difference. We don't have the
Hmm.
power;
Hmm.
they have the power. Everything else, I think you can do. I mean, you can shout, you can you can write, you can reflect, and how much influence you can wield. Civil servants from the day one, they have influence, because they are in the
True.
system. In the system, we are outside, right? So no comparison.
But they are still restricted by the system, and we can probably have more of flexibility and freedom in. Well,
Yeah, we have freedom. We have freedom. We can. So many things I write. I don't think if I was a civil servant, I would not have been allowed to do that. Even I have colleagues who are in civil servants. When we ask them, they will have this, pep talks, but they are not allowed to write in public domain. And other one is, I believe, the civil servants also have, see, I work with many civil servants. I work in different capacities. So that is what something that you enjoy. Great. I mean,
Right.
you work with, see, it's not, you work with the best brains sometimes, best brains, civil
True.
servant brains in the country also. That's also learning from you, how they look
Mhm.
at it, because there is a difference, whether you're a politician or a civil servant. When you're outside the system, your perception, understanding would be different. No, I'm going to I mean, I'm going to change the country. Get into
Right.
the
Right.
system, that's a different thing. But senior civil servants and senior politicians also share that wisdom, meaning
Hmm.
this is how the system works. That you don't know because you were all these years you're outsider, and so you don't know how the system works. So that's a great way.
True. Uh, so we have a question from Arundhati ji, and I think she would like to ask you directly. Arundhati ji, would you like to ask your question?
Yes, Shrina, thank you. Dhanurajji, in fact, the question that had been in my mind is something that you mentioned towards the end about the power with the civil servant. And what I find, I mean, and someone can sort of, you could probably tell me if that is true or not true, but younger and younger people are just passing exams and getting into the IAS and getting power without any kind of experience whatsoever, any kind of wisdom, leave alone any this thing. And then with the additional boost of power going to their head, uh, what are the checks? Because as you said, power can be used for the good, but power can also be very irresponsibly used, and uh, and it can affect uh, thousands right away, and for a long time to come, it can affect a lot more people. So, what has been, I mean, what's your public policy suggestion for a certain kind of a check on those kind of?
No,
Uh,
I'm a big believer of reforms in civil service. I mean, that's what I said in the beginning. If you ask me, I'm not discouraging anybody from writing civil service exam. It's a great place to be there. I mean, it's a great opportunity for you to serve the country or people around you, support the people around you. But from a public policy perspective, I believe Indian civil service requires, I mean, it's a high time for us to reform the service. One of the suggestions that I think what Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, it's a very interesting thing. You should be a specialist also. I mean, I don't understand when you all this by training and by academic qualification. You are trained as a political scientist, for example. I know people who did the political science, but ended up in let's say some of the service, Indian revenue service, for example. For some time, it is like what do you call, it's completely weekend lacking for them to see these numbers and understand what is numbers. I believe the reforms are very much essential. I mean, I think instead of going for this very general exam and then according to the marks they allocate the cadre and everything, I think it's high time for us to get that reforms oriented one. I think after the graduation, those who are interested to do civil service, I think there should be a separate scheme for them, so that you get the best talent. The idea of civil service is you have to get the right talent, the best talent in the country, right, to govern the country. The second thing is to answer your question about how this works out. I also believe that depends on the political culture. See, I think all of us know that now the present prime minister is more into he works with the bureaucracy more than the politicians. He believes in the bureaucratic setup, and that's how he governed Gujarat and how he's doing now also. I mean, this is what as a common understanding all of us have. That need not be the case with many other politicians. So there are positives and negatives in this in these settings, because when you are with bureaucracy and more space is given to bureaucracy, there could also be we all the society, there are people who will take the right spirit, they will exploit the situation. So there could be chances where bureaucrats will they don't go by the norms, or they don't get into that political economy part of the debate. So they will use their power to decide what they want to do or what they want to see on the ground. The third one is, I believe, a decentralization process. So I still don't know why are we having this very centralized system. I mean, since I'm in Kochi, I always wonder, why we are going to Delhi for each and everything, that whether we should have a telephone post, sorry, not telephone post. I mean, whether we should have I had this opportunity to work in one project where I found that to shift one bus stop. No, I don't want to mention what was the project. To shift one bus stop from the present location some 200 meters away, it required, the the bureaucrat signature in Delhi. Come on, yeah. I mean, what are you talking about? So, it's a informed decision that we have to shift that bus stop from this place to that place because this is going to be a congested place. And then somebody says like, you have to get it done. Send this file to Delhi and get it approved because it comes on national highway. So only when you decentralize it, and also believe that decentralization is not only at the center state or union state and local. It's also about bureaucratic decentralization, right? The decentralization of the bureaucracy. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many are from Kerala here. I don't know why we have the industry department in Trivandrum. Giving one example, okay, because Trivandrum is not at all a entrepreneurial city, right? I mean, and 60 or 70% of business is not at all happening in Trivandrum or that part of the country. But still, we have so I think we have to think innovatively and we have to think out of box sometimes. And I think these all will be the checks and balances. No, but at the same time, I see like we can't generalize. Probably 2 out of 800 people join service every year. They made some mistake. That doesn't mean that everybody is wrong, right? There are good people. I found so many interesting guys in the last 10 years. Even the younger generation, good friends also. They're very passionate about what they're doing and all. But probably, our society has got a 10%. We always have the benefit of doubt, right? We make mistakes or we may exploit the situation according to our whims and fancies.
So maybe I'm anyway. You were so kind enough to give us few extra minutes, but I probably would stop at this. I mean, I don't want to keep you away from your schedule for the day. So we had a lot of discussion with regard to the research. So what is a person who is not so much keen into research, who can do it, at the minimum or as much as required, but he is not his passion isn't into research, but still want to work in public policy? How would you suggest, or what do you think for possibility of his career?
I have a one, simple answer. Like civil service, UPSC exam. There you don't require. Still you are a public policy person. But if you are into public policy, I think you should have research skills. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've not seen anybody a successful public policy person without that research skill. I mean, research is essential. I mean. Otherwise, the question you asked earlier about what's the difference between civil servants and the public, I think this is one of the key elements. Public policy professionals, they go into research, they understand, they try to do that 360-degree analysis and, try to, connecting the dots, and they all this exercise we do. But civil servant may not, I mean, it's not like it is his or her fault. Probably the system is not giving that space for them to do that. So if you are not into research, because if you are not a researcher, the problem there are a few more problems there. I think the passion to read, passion to understand new topics, new areas would be limited for those people who are not interested in research. I think the research is something that drives you. Read more. Oh, what is this? Because that research questions are driving you finally, right? When you get into a piece of article or book reading, that question always comes to your mind. Why am I reading it? So otherwise, you could read other fictional books and other literature books. I'm not saying that. We all do that, but research is very important in public policy.
So I think probably with that I'll conclude. Thank you so much, sir, for giving us your valuable time and being kind enough and so gracious enough to even extend the time that you have given us. and for giving us so lucidly with the issues and all our concerns and all the questions you have answered. And more than that, thank you so much for your association with Chinmaya Vishwavidyapith and for our program on public policy and governance. You have been a great mentor, a guide, a person that we all look up to. Thank you so much, sir. To everybody,
I
yes.
Thank you all. This is like at the end of the day, the reality is like it's also bread and butter for me and many people here. So I'm not idealistic. I'm not idealistic here because many times people get into the idealistic world. This is what I think I'm very realistic, and I think people I know work with they're also very realistic. But at the same time, we are responsible for what our actions and writing and everything. Right? We are not writing anything to become very controversial also, right? Or to get that fame, right? Sometimes it becomes very controversial because probably some of the stands we take, some positions we take, but it's all supported by evidence and data, right? So I see, talking about public policy is a kind of, I always enjoy it, and especially when it is organized by, CVV. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and looking forward to.
The honor is all ours, and the pleasure too. So, to everybody of us, I know that I have missed many questions that has come through chat box, and sorry, that is again due to paucity of time. And so, if you have any more questions, please write to us at webinars@cvv.ac.in. I'll put the mail ID at the chat box, and I'll also open the chat box for some time so that if any one of you would like to put in questions in the chat box to Dhanu sir, we would try to get his time and get his answers to you people. Sure. So thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you all. We'll have the session open for the Zoom platform open for 5 more minutes so that you can put in any questions if there is into the chat box. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you. I would also like to thank our organizer, the person who has been coordinating everything, Rukmaji, who is the editor at Chinmaya Vishwavidyapith, and also there is a whole bunch of team who is working with the social media, the IT department, and every one of us who has made this possible. Thank you, sir. Thank you all. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.